Good morning, students. I am Guru Nagendra, working in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Today, I will take you through the video lecture on engineering materials. Students, engineering materials play a prominent role in day-to-day applications. Irrespective of the branch of engineering you study, engineering materials, plays an important role. As a student, you need to understand the behavior of these materials, different kinds of materials, also the origin of materials, the properties of these materials, the applications of these materials, why these materials are used in different application, what are its inherent characteristics that makes it suitable to be applied in various engineering applications. So as I said, engineering materials refers to the group of materials that are used in the construction of man-made structures and components. Okay, there are varieties of applications of engineering materials used in your day-to-day life, whether it can be kitchen utensils, whether the mobile phones you use, the plastic components you use, the television cabinets, the computer systems, integrated circuits, different kinds of engine components, turbine components, wooden furnitures, buildings, bricks, cement, concrete, all these are different kinds of engineering materials. They are used in different, building different structures and manufacturing various components. The primary function of an engineering material is to withstand different kinds of loading that acts on it without breaking and without exhibiting excessive deflection. The main objective or the primary function of any material is to, withstand these kinds of loading that acts on it and try to respond in such a way that can bear such loads without any excessive deflection or even breakage. So to start with, let me try to take you through the classification of materials, very frequently expected from students. From materials tree, here is a materials tree which classifies different kinds of engineering materials used in day-to-day field, starting from the natural materials, to the man-made materials. Look at this. Most of the civilization in the world is also named after materials. Maybe the Stone Age made of, even the name because of the stones widely used for various applications, start with hunting and other aspects. And Iron Age was there, Bronze Age was there. Today we call it as Silicon Age. Most of the civilization are named after different kinds of materials. Here is metals, the first very important classification. Metals are classified as ferrous metals, alloys, steels and cast irons. Aluminium alloys, which are non-ferrous materials, different kinds of aluminium alloys, aluminium copper, aluminium magnesium, copper alloys with brass, bronze taking a very important role. So steels and cast irons are widely used in case of ferrous material, and they are also used in tandem with different alloys, that is different materials. In combination of these materials, they find its application in different engineering fields. Coming back to the next important material widely seen in today's world is the engineering ceramics, the natural ceramics, quartz, to the advanced ceramics like oxides and carbides, silicon carbides and aluminum oxides, things like that. So here is barium titanate, PZT, piezoelectric materials, traditional ceramic stones, porcelain. Most of your dishes are made of porcelain. Polymers, another important category of materials widely seen in today's different engineering field, even in our day-to-day application, thermosets, plastics and thermoplastics. To name few, polyethylene, polypropylene, nylon, rubber, so on and so forth. And today we also try to understand the importance of a more advanced material, that is what we call it as composites. Composites are classified as metal matrix composites, polymer matrix composites and ceramic matrix composites. Polymer matrix composites are almost used in 90% of the application, and niche areas they also use these metal matrix composites and ceramics matrix composites, to name a few. Lot of today sports items, aerospace components, are made of these composites because of its lightweight and high strength. So we'll move on to the next different kinds of material you would have seen in your day-to-day field. You can see a metallic gears here, lot of different gears, 4 gears assembled, in a gearbox setup. We call it as gear train. Okay, metallic components, non-ferrous and ferrous, both nuts and bolts you would have seen in your day-to-day application to fasten two members, join, we call it as temporarily. Lot of metallic parts strewn in where, here in this particular figure, which will be used in various applications. You might have using different kinds of, in agricultural implements, farming applications. In your day-to-day life, we use stainless steels, utensils, so on and so forth. Lot of applications you can cite. These are all going to plastic. You can see a lot of plastic bottles, plastic cans, different kinds of plastic containers here. Ceramics, porcelain dishes, you can see. Okay, here. So all these go into different kinds of assembled components widely used to run our economy. The road transportation sector like cars, buses, trucks, marine transport, ships, military aircraft carriers, okay, so many liners and things like that, submarines, different kinds of building constructions, use different materials, okay, different kinds of materials, not just brick, cement, concrete, okay, there are different engineering construction materials also used. Then aircraft parts, whether it is wings, fuselage, cockpit, different kinds of transparent sections, they use a lot of composites, aluminum alloys, steels in these kinds of exotic applications, including space shuttles, even from small pin to a big gigantic aircraft, materials plays a very prominent role. Move to the next slide. To start with, let us try to understand metals. What are metals? You can see a lot of metals here, and ingots of materials, raw materials here, different types, ferrous and non-ferrous. What are the metals? Metals are the most commonly used class of engineering material. Metal alloys are specially common, and they are formed by combining metal with one or more other metallic and non-metallic materials. Take for example brass. It's an alloy of copper and zinc. You have a copper as the base material, the major constituent, zinc as the alloying element, tin alloyed with copper, we call it as bronze, widely seen in different applications. Stainless steels with an alloying constituent of nickel and chromium in steel. Steel itself is an alloy of carbon and iron. Carbon is present in the form of interstitial atomic phases to give enough strength to steel. The combination generally occurs through a process of melting, mixing and cooling. How do you do it? You melt it first, you mix the alloying constituent and allow it to cool or solidify. The goal of alloying is to improve the properties of base materials. Very, very important. Why you need to do alloying? To improve various properties, desirable properties which are required in these kinds of engineering applications. Let us move on to the next material classification. Ferrous. Ferrous means ferrum, iron. So any material with iron as the major constituent falls under the category of ferrous material. It's very fundamental. You are familiar with this. They compose large portion of overall metals in use today. Most of the materials that are used in day-to-day applications falls under the ferrous category. Ferrous materials. All of you know there is a bit of steel in everybody's life. This is the what you call the tag word of Steel Authority of India Limited. The steels are widely used in different kinds of application. Okay, this is widely used in different industries, no doubt. Non-ferrous materials, on the other hand, do not include iron. So I'll discuss about this in the next heading. They do not require much iron. They don't have iron. Okay, in its what you call composition. Ferrous materials include mild steel, carbon steel, stainless steel, cast iron, and wrought iron. So you can see some of the pictorial, goods that has been, used in day-to-day life. You have cutting tools, you have gates, you have different components here, different, what we call it as the kitchen implements. Okay. The bridge structure, the car bodies, the car steel going into construction applications, so on and so forth. lot of designs you can see, different live components that is used in day-to-day life. Coming back to the very first important metals widely used, very inexpensive in case of different applications, we call it as cast iron. The word cast means it's easy to cast. It's an alloy of iron that contains 2 to 4% carbon. Very, very important. The carbon presence in the range of 2 to 4% is call it as cast iron. If at all it is less than 2%, call it as steel. More the carbon content, more the brittle the material will be. So apart from carbon, very important alloying constituent, we also see the silicon and manganese presence with the traces of impurities such as sulfur and phosphorus. This is also found in cast iron. You can see some of the components of cast iron. You would have familiar with this. Tawa, we call it as this is the motor parts, the housing, the pump housing, the lathe pads. They're all fabricated using cast iron as the engineering material. Cast iron tends to be brittle except for malleable cast iron. I'll discuss different types of cast iron. Among the cast iron, general cast iron, grey cast iron finds a very wide applications. They're found to be brittle because of higher carbon content. But there's very low melting point, good fluidity, low melting point, low energy consumption. Cast iron is compared to other kinds of materials. Castability is good. That's why the term cast iron. Good machinability, excellent machinability, resistance to deformation, wear, very hard. It can withstand all the surface loading, things like that. So wear resistance plays a prominent role in different kinds of applications, machineries. Cast irons have become an engineering material with a wide range of application where it is seen pipes, machine parts. You can see few of the components here in the picture, pipes, machines, automotive industry for cylinder heads of your IC engines, cylinder blocks, gearbox casings, etc. It is resistance to damage by oxidations, very important property of the cast iron. What are the types of cast iron? Cast iron comes with different shapes, different types, call it as white cast iron, grey cast iron, malleable cast iron, nodular cast iron, depending on the presence of graphite in what form or absence of graphite. White cast iron, grey cast iron, malleable, nodular, among which grey cast iron finds wide spectrum of application. Grey cast iron is produced when you melt molten pig iron in the mold and you allow it to cool and solidify. Okay, it contains approximately 3 to 3.5% carbon and around 1.2 to 2.3% silicon. Please remember, along with the presence of sulfur and phosphorus, little bit of traces of manganese. Again, as I said, as a grey cast iron, it possesses excellent castability, machinability, also vibration damping capability. That is the reason this grey cast iron, I'm speaking about grey cast iron, okay, this finds application in various structural applications, especially in columns of machine tools, beds of machine tools also. It is highly wear resistant and it can aids in lubrication of worn out surfaces. So very strong material, grey cast iron. It finds its application in the manufacturing of engine blocks, gears, brake discs, and various columns and beds of machines. Okay, especially in machine tools because of its compressive strength. These cast irons are very strong in compression. Though it is brittle, it's very strong in compression and bear enormous amount of compressive load. Then comes white cast iron. Why I am talking first on grey is because this is one of the widely seen cast iron in the wide variety of applications. Okay? Then comes white cast iron. This is produced by chilling. That's why they mention it is fast cooling rate. Grey cast iron is done, manufactured using slow cooling rates during casting process. Fast cooling rates leads to white cast iron. Okay, in selected areas of casting in the mold, here the carbon remains distributed through the iron in the form of iron carbide. White cast iron approximately contains around 1 to 2% carbon and 0.5 to 2% silicon, along with the presence of sulfur, manganese, phosphorus, and other impurities, which also aids in different applications. The presence of iron carbide makes white cast iron extremely brittle, extremely hard and brittle, and wear resistant. It has very high tensile strength but low compressive strength. It also finds application in rolling mills rolls, clay mixing, brick making equipment, crushers, and other applications. Then comes malleable. Malleable cast iron. Ductility is present here. This is obtained using heat treating the white iron. If you heat treat this white iron, you get malleable iron. Malleability, ability to form sheets, we call it as malleable. Malleable iron is produced by annealing, a heat treatment process, okay, which transforms iron carbide present in white cast iron into what we call it as graphite. In the annealing process, white cast iron is heated up to 900 degrees Celsius, long period of time in the presence of iron carbide. Upon cooling, we see presence of graphite in the form of nodules. Nodules means small, round shaped, structures. Especially these things you observe in the microstructure of these kinds of materials. When you observe under a metallurgical microscope, you can see all these type of, shapes of presence of graphite. Graphite is an allotrope of carbon. Okay. Now, what is the composition of malleable cast iron? If you're interested, it is around 2 to 3% carbon. Obviously, carbon presence is more than 2% in cast iron. Based on the presence of carbon in the form of free form, graphite, and the composition, it leads to different kinds of cast iron. Malleable cast iron, you will see 2 to 3% carbon, 0.6 to 1.3% silicon. This particular malleable cast iron again has the advantages of excellent castability, moderate strength, toughness, corrosion strength also. This again quite widely seen in automotive applications like transmission gears, differential cases, universal joint yokes, and railroad application. These railroad applications takes a big spectrum of applications of these kinds of material. Next comes nodular spheroidal cast iron. This is also called ductile cast iron. Nodular cast iron, ductility do exist in these two irons, malleable and nodular. Here the graphite is in the presence of nodular form. Okay, spheroidal graphite we also call it as, or nodular cast iron. Okay, this is very, very important. Again, the composition seems to be around 3% to 4% carbon, 1 to 3% silicon, along with the presence of sulfur and phosphorus. It has very good, fluidity, castability, and machinability. It has found its application in different kinds of automotive, fields, automotive components, crankshafts, rollers, punches, dies, etc. So as I said, individually I just discussed about the applications of cast iron. Overall, cast iron plays a very important role in case of hydraulic applications. You can see the pump parts, the valves, okay, the fluid, valves, direction control valves, things like that, engine blocks. It is used in making different machines. As I said, because of its high compressive strength, it is widely used to make columns and beds of machine tools, automotive parts, right? And making pot pans and utensils, and also anchor for ships at the harbors and ports. Very, very important. These are widely used in, these cast iron in such kind of application. Then comes the another alloy of, another ferrous material widely seen is the tool steel. Steels, as I said, is an alloy of iron and carbon, just like cast iron, but the presence of carbon will be less than 2%. Okay, whereas in cast iron it is more than 2%. Tool steel, the word itself tells that this steel is widely used as a tool for various, manufacturing various things. It's a specific type of high quality steel made specifically for production of tools and tooling components. You can see different kinds of tools here, chisels, saws, circular saws, and things like that for various manufacturing, components. Then we have tool steels are formulated to withstand very high pressures and abrasive materials. Okay, especially they are manufactured in electric melt furnace with stringent quality standards. These are typical tool steels you see in different applications. Okay, to cut, process different metals, different components. Apart from metals, wood and plastics also. There are another very important properties of these tool steels are the toughness, wear resistance, hardness, and heat resistance. These are four very important properties which count the behavior of tool steel. It should necessarily possess very high toughness, strength to shock loading, wear resistance in terms of surface extraction, hardness, ability to withstand penetration, heat resistance, work under high temperatures at the point of contact. Okay. Next comes different types of tool steels. You can see drill bits, different kinds of reamers, things like that. You can see these high-speed steels plays a very important role in terms of tool steel. It is also called HSS steel. It consists of different alloying constituents apart from carbon in the iron atom, in the what you call interstitial space surrounded by iron atoms. You will also see other alloying constituents. They are molybdenum, tungsten, vanadium, and other kinds of chromium presence in case of these HSS. HSS stands for high speed steel, widely used in high speed machining applications. They find its application in hand tools like chisels, punches, hammers, and machine cutting tools. Next, apart from that, you also see stainless steel playing important role in different kinds of applications, where we call it as 18/8 stainless steel. Okay, where you have 18% nickel, 8% chromium, widely used in case of cutting, various products, items. We call it as, it can be knife blades for cutting your vegetables and fruits. It also used in surgical instruments, in medical applications, spindles, and marine applications. So stainless steels are widely seen in your kitchen, racks for day-to-day, what you call the purposes for food processing and things like that. You are going to use this stainless steel. Okay. So this, completes the ferrous alloy. Now comes to the next content is the copper alloys. There is non-ferrous alloys. Copper, as you are familiar, is one of the more important non-ferrous alloys. Okay, widely obtained from the ore of mine, refining the ore cuprite. Okay, it comes with different alloying components, alloying elements like tin and zinc added to it, forms brass, bronze. Okay, gunmetal. If you add nickel, it becomes copper nickel alloys. Finds varying application in industrial fields. Brass, to start with, before we'll try to understand brass, bronze, what is this copper? Speciality of this copper is it has one of the best electrical and thermal conductivity among any kind of material. That is the reason copper finds its application in temperature scenarios and also in electrical applications. Okay? Because it has very good heat conductivity and electrical conductivity. Most of the copper wires, you are familiar in case of motor windings of copper wires, electrical wiring, you see copper. Okay, and it's very ductile. Copper is very ductile. That's the reason it can be formed into thin wires. Okay? And apart from pure copper is always soft, so you have to add some materials, alloying elements, just like pure iron is also not good. Pure gold is not good. You have to add some alloying constituent. Pure iron, you add carbon, it becomes steel, strong and tough. Cast iron, brittle but very strong. Just now we discussed. Similarly, pure copper is of not much use. If you add different alloying elements, impurities like zinc, tin, and other constituents, it becomes strong. Now, first alloy is the brass. Let us discuss what is this brass. Brass is an alloy of copper and zinc, okay, with different combinations. It has very good machinability, ductility, and wear strength. Apart from hardness, electrical and thermal conductivities are very great. In case of brass, okay, good wear and corrosion resistance can be seen in brass, okay, and also good corrosion resistance. Apart from that, it is non-magnetic. Brass finds its application in the manufacture of nuts, bolts, different kinds of valve bodies, valve fittings, heat exchanger parts. Try to understand this. Heat exchanger parts, your radiators, okay, tubes and other things, one refrigerator condensers, you might have seen a lot of tubings. They are all made of these kinds of copper alloys. Okay, pump bodies and pump fittings are also made of brass. Next comes bronze. Bronze Age. civilization itself is named after bronze, called Bronze Age human civilization. Okay, so bronze was used from thousands of years ago. It's an alloy of copper and tin. Okay, so this particular alloy consists of copper in the range of 80-85% and tin in the range of 10 to 15%. Okay, apart from that tin, we can also see the presence of aluminum, beryllium also in case of bronze. Bronze are soft and corrosion resistant, possess very good fatigue strength. It is widely seen in different electrical applications, bushers, clutches, disc, marine applications, centrifugal pumps, parts, and valve parts. Okay. Now we'll move on to the different kinds of copper alloys. Apart from that, we'll try to understand the aluminum alloys. Aluminum alloys is a soft, lightweight, fireproof, heat-resistant material. You can see the pictures here. Aluminum alloys are widely seen in automotive application, aircraft, and space shuttle applications. Aluminum is used in huge variety of products, as we said. As just like that, aluminum is soft. Pure aluminum is soft. We are going to add some alloying elements in terms of impurities to make it strong, tough, and get desirable properties. This is relatively light metal. The density of aluminum is around 2 to 2.5 grams per cc. It's a good conductor of heat and electricity. It is easily machined. However, as I said, aluminum is very weak in its pure form. Very ductile material. Where it can be used in high strength applications with alloying elements like copper, silicon, magnesium, etc. It's widely seen in aircraft parts, motor parts, generators, transformers, and various household applications. Ceramics. So you are familiar with the ceramics. Ceramics are the inorganic and non-metallic materials that are widely seen in our day-to-day field. Okay, they are made of natural ceramics like clay, widely used, in making, various statues of gods, and also in high temperature applications they use these bricks. These are all comes under the application of ceramics. Tiles, you can see the ceramics widely used, floor tiles. Okay, but ceramics has a very low fracture toughness, breaks quickly. Apart from that, it is widely seen in various kinds of high strength aerospace engine components. The form of presence of synthetic ceramics like aluminum oxides, oxides of alumina, tungsten carbide, zirconia, titanium oxide, silicon carbide, and so on and so forth. Okay, these ceramics are widely seen in high temperature applications. This is you need to remember. Okay, these are some of the ceramic materials that is seen in day-to-day application like porcelain dishes, earthenwares, things like that. Next comes polymers. Polymer is a material composed of many repeated units called monomers that link together into chains or branches. Some of the polymers like starch and cellulose, you are familiar with this. Rubber also, another kind of polymer naturally occurring. Okay, while others like polyester, nylon, and plastic are synthetic polymers. You can see a lot of polymeric components here strewn around, which are used in day-to-day application. Water bottles, okay, thermoplastics and thermosets. Polymers are used in almost every area of modern living today. Grocery bags, soda and water bottles, textile fibers, phones, computers, food packaging, auto parts, and toys all contains polymers. Polymers are classified as thermoplastics and thermosetting plastics. What is a thermoplastic? You can see a lot of thermoplastics and thermosets. Thermoplastic is a material, usually a plastic polymer, which becomes more soft when heated and hard when cooled. Examples are polyethylene, polypropylene, PVC, polyvinyl chloride, nylon, Teflon, etc. You can see polythene covers widely seen. Now it has been banned, okay, due to various environmental hazards. Then come apart from that, there are wonderful plastics even today used in different applications. It's very lightweight. No, but there is no problem faced with respect to corrosion. Okay, especially these plastics. Thermosets contain polymers that cross-link together during curing process to form an irreversible chemical bond. Very strong plastics, thermoplastics. One of the most commonly used thermosets is bakelite, which is relatively a bad conductor of electricity and heat. Okay, it is mainly used in electrical switches, okay, and handles of various utensils. When you use in kitchens and other things, you might have seen this bakelite as the handle material. Electrical switches because of the insulating effect. And the very important materials that is being used for the last few decades is composites. Composites play a very prominent role in very niche applications, as I have shown in the pictures here. Marine applications, sports tools, cutting tools, orthopedic, okay, aero engine components and aircraft parts. Composite consists of two basic different materials. There is the fiber and the matrix. Together we call it as composite material. They are strong, light, durable. Okay. These composites fall under three different categories. Broadly, polymer matrix composite, ceramic matrix composite, metal matrix composite. Major chunk of applications of composites lies in the area of polymer matrix composites. They are very lightweight, less strength, less dense. Okay, lightweight, dense, density is less, very strong. The addition of very important fibers. Okay, heat resistant application use ceramic matrix composites. Just now I said different alloying components, different reinforcements used. Okay, in case of aero engine parts, okay, we call it as the ceramic matrix composites. Cutting tools, again, sees the application of ceramic matrix composites wherever you see a very high resistance. Okay, especially the aircraft parts, space shuttle components. They use ceramic matrix composites. Metal matrix composites, another wide chunk of application you see after polymer matrix composites. Here reinforcement will be in the presence of materials, okay, like silicon carbide, alumina, zirconia in the matrix of metal. Okay, generally fibers, the second reinforcement material you see in composites are glass fibers, carbon fibers. In case of polymer matrix composites, you see aramid fibers, metallic fibers, and things like that. So these composites, as I have just shown, it is having a very important property called high strength to low weight. Okay, high strength to low weight ratio. Okay, that is, we call it as specific strength and specific toughness. Okay. Now, as I said, the polymer matrix composites finds applications in different fields. Okay, typically we'll see the polymer matrix composites in aircraft components, okay, sport boots, orthopedic applications, and apart from that, different day-to-day applications like bathtubs, boats, and different railroad applications. Whereas the metal matrix composites finds its application in piston components, fan blades of turbo engines, electrical and electronic systems. Okay. With this, we'll come to the end of this particular video lecture on engineering materials. Thank you, guys.